Hi, Melissa Carter here, who's the publisher and author at the indie publishing house, Wanging Dude Publishing. I was just corrected by someone. Don't say self-publisher, say indie. I'm an indie publisher. I'm very excited. So a side gig. It's an experiment basically because my feeling is, look, I've been in media for a long time. Can I pull this off? But I'll talk about the process and all that I didn't know that went into publishing a book. But first, let's start with Wanging Dude Publishing. So when I got laid off in 2020, I got laid off a few months after Millie Pete died. In the middle of a pandemic as a transplant recipient. It was a little bit bitter pill to swallow at the moment. But I did get laid off in 2020. And it was at that moment I thought, look, if I'm going to do freelance, if I have to stay at home and not be able to go into another company, because honestly, I don't trust people to take care of those like us who are really needing someone to take care of us. I decided that I was going to do it professionally, right? I was going to do it right. So when you start a company, and I fortunately have several friends who have their own companies, so I was influenced by them as well. But when you start your own company, things need to funnel through that company. So you got to do an LLC. And so I decided to create two LLCs. One was Melissa Carter LLC, so that for my freelance gigs, many of them have to do with media and being on air or doing some kind of production. That is what I get paid through because it's freelance work. It's not full time, and that's the way you need to do it. So when you set up an LLC, you need to do it through your state, right? So I just went to Georgia.gov. I did it through the Secretary of State's office, was able to create an LLC online there. So wherever you live, that's where you need to check out is to, unless you have attorneys and people in your life that can help you with that, but you can do it on your own through your state. So I did that. And then I thought, well, you know what? It started kind of creeping in after, again, my friend sent me the book and said, hey, you should tell your story. That I thought, well, okay, if I'm going to do any kind of publishing, then let me do another LLC, at least in my mind, so I can separate the two companies. And it sounds so fancy to say that I own these companies, but that's what people do. That's what business owners and entrepreneurs do. So I decided to do a second one. And I thought, okay, now let me get a little more creative with this because this is more of the creative space for me, which is I've always enjoyed writing. And I've been a columnist for the Georgia Voice, gosh, for over a decade. Thank you to them for keeping me on, even when things were getting kind of rough during the pandemic. And I've been a contributor to Huffington Post. So I have done writing. And so I decided, well, that will be the start of the LLC is I will ask any place that I actually physically do published writing to pay me through that. Okay, what's the name going to be? And I wish I had the list of things because I had just lost my mother. And so my parents were very top of mind at the time I was doing this. This would have been, gosh, in the summer of 2020 that I did this. And like I said, Millie Pete had just passed and my father had passed back in 2001. And so they were just really on my heart because it was a scary time for me. And, I felt like a kid needing my parents and my parents weren't there to call anymore. So I thought about different names that included their names and something fun. And then I remembered a nickname that my dad had for me, Wangin' Dude. So when I was a kid in preschool, toddler, I had a ukulele that apparently they had gifted me. And I don't remember this, but he used to get a kick out of the fact that I would whang this ukulele loud. And I guess I was probably disturbing his work because I would wander around the house and see what mom and dad were doing. And I'm sure and my brother and sister and interrupting them. And so he just called me Whangin' Dude because I would whang, because that's the term for slamming on your guitars. And I would whang around his shop. So my dad was a corporate guy, and when he was relaxing at home, sometimes he'd be in the shop tinkering with things and doing things, and so I'd be whanging around. So he called me the Whangin' Dude. Not sure why, but that's, that was his term for me. And so I thought, you know what, that's unique. It's different. And that's why I decided to call it Huang and Dude Publishing, because that's where I started, just, playing my music for anybody that would listen to me. And so the next step with that was to establish that LLC. And so then I had to come up with a logo, right, for Huang and Dude Publishing. And we're going to talk to the graphic designer that designed that and that process here in another video. But let me just say, the culmination of it in my mind for Huang and Dude was the fact that I was a child of the 70s. I was born in 1970. Don't judge. But I love the 70s. Keep on Trucking was a big logo in the 70s and big thing. The fact that I, as a blonde, was always stereotyped as angels in plays throughout the 70s. And I was called the Huang Dude by my dad. So all that put together is what you see in the logo. And and the ukulele. The angel in the logo is playing the ukulele, and that's me, the Huang Dude. So that gives you a basic idea. I had my graphic designer, who again will we'll interview him because he had a totally different impression with that name, and some other people may have a totally different impression with that name, mostly men, and what that means to them, which is something that is not family friendly. But that is not what it means. What it means is it was a nickname given to me by my father. So anyway, thank you so much for being a part of this channel. Hopefully you'll get some education on how to publish a book. It's new to me. I want to share it with you, and I appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next video.